Storing goods on a boat can be a challenging puzzle. It involves balancing accessibility with a number of other considerations. And if you cruise on a lightweight catamaran, weight distribution is going to be particularly important. Hi there, I'm Carolyn Sherlock, and on this episode of the Boat Galley podcast, I'll share some things to think about as you're storing things aboard your boat. Okay, first, today's episode of the podcast is sponsored by Mantis Marine, maker of the Mantis Anchor, now available in models with and without a roll bar. Proven to set reliably in the most challenging bottoms, the Mantis Anchor digs in like no other, making anchoring safer and boating more enjoyable. Mantis Marine brings to market practical, durable, and affordable marine products, including their new dinghy, their nav lights, anchoring gear, scuba diving accessories, and a wonderful rechargeable waterproof headlamp. Visit mantismarine.com and see for yourself. Knowing just how to store provisions on a boat is always tough, with having to find room for everything. But there's a secondary consideration. Weight distribution is important on any boat, particularly for a catamaran and also for lightweight boats. Loading any boat too heavily causes real handling problems as they start reacting sluggishly. And if you sink the boat below its designed waterline, you'll see a reduction in speed. And for sailboats, well, they won't point nearly as well if they're overloaded. In provisioning Barefoot Gal, which was a small, lightweight catamaran, I made an extra effort not to stock up too much. Generally, we were in the U.S., planning to hit store every week to 10 days, and I'd always carry a few extra days' supplies just in case. But even if we wanted to go for 3 or 4 weeks, that's a long ways from the 3 months of supplies I loaded aboard when we moved onto our first cruising boat. What in the world was I ever thinking? People everywhere eat. However, it's not just the weight of provisions that we need to store on the boat. We need to think about where that weight gets stowed. Sailboats sail, motor, and steer best when the weight is concentrated right in the center of the boat, both fore and aft and side to side. And also, as things get spread out on that side to side, you really want the weight to be fairly even distributed so the boat doesn't list to one side or the other. You have to think about where things like your fuel and water tanks are and how much weight those add, and then kind of counter it with what else you're putting in. Now, the lower in the boat that the weight is, the better. Paying attention to the weight distribution not only makes the boat sail and motor better, but also have an easier motion and more responsive steering. Now, all of that has to be tempered by convenience. You need to think about what you use all the time. Of course, you can't keep your total supply of everything out where it's handy, but I found it worked well to have a week's supply of something in a convenient location, and then the rest stashed away somewhere else. Then, once a week, I'd refill all of those convenient containers. Now, I hate to tell you this, but don't expect that you're going to get your whole storage plan perfect the first time. It takes a bit of trial and error. Sometimes it'll change seasonally too. I found it changed both seasonally and where we were cruising, as the things that I used all the time changed, and as brands of thing or their packaging might change. Things just didn't maybe fit in where they used to. But the basics of it all are to keep a small stock of frequently used stuff in the most convenient places, heavy stuff low in the boat and as close to the middle, fore and aft as possible. So that means canned food and beer right in the center, and the toilet paper, paper towels in the bow and stern. Okay? You can do it. Anyways, thanks for listening to this episode of the Boat Galley podcast. Hope you learned something new. Got you thinking. Please help us reach other cruisers and cruising dreamers. Leave a review on your favorite podcast app. And don't forget to tell your friends. We'd like to really make your boat life better. Slow